Hey, what up? We'll be live in just a sec. Just get some stuff set up as per usual. That. Okay. Oh, you probably can hear me bumping the table. I apologize. Tappy tapping my leg. You know when you do that thing, you bounce your leg. There we go. Okay, that's up here. I think everything should be good to go. All right. Hello, everyone. Wow, big turnout. I appreciate that. So, yeah, all right. Calm down. You're supposed to outlast Destiny, so we're not quitting. Well, like I said right there, I'll be back. But we're stepping away. And there's two things. Two. Here, let me. Hold on. Let me set up my office here because it's currently open to everybody. Give me a second. Hold on. Holy cow, 400 people, huh? I appreciate that. By the way, stream has a tendency to die about 5 minutes in. If it does that for you, just refresh. We're still here. Okay. Time for Remnant 2. I'm going to give Remnant 2 a week before I jump into it. I've got some friends who are jumping on it, but, you know. Anywho. Hello. So here's what's going down. A couple of different things. As you all are hyper aware, like extremely aware of, Destiny really sucks right now. It's a chore to play. And I watched a little bit of Data's video actually, and I was thinking about this long before Data's video came out. And then True Vanguard just recently kind of did the same thing. So it's just kind of happening all at once. And I know that's kind of, a thing right now. But Destiny really sucks right now. Unfortunately, it's my job. So there's going to be times when Destiny and my job is going to rock. And there's going to be times when it's going to suck. And it's going to be a slog. I know the whole woe is me making videos for people on the internet isn't as fun, right? But there's some truth in it, regardless of what you're doing. It's an entertainment industry at the end of the day. I have to constantly be trying to drip feed something into the algorithm in order to maintain, activity. I have to stay alive. I have to paddle my feet to keep my head above the water, right? But despite all that, it's kind of just not worth it right now. It just really isn't for a number of different reasons. Now, I want to be clear before we get into this. This is temporary, right? This is absolutely temporary. As you probably are, if you see other content creators doing very similar stuff, kind of all of us are doing the same thing right now. This is not a what's the word? A planned effort. There's a fancier word for that, but this is not a planned effort between all of us. I've seen that idea get tossed around, like, oh, they're all chatting in private to whatever. That's not true. This is not some type of like coordinated effort. This is every individual at the same time is having the exact same feeling, right? And what concerns me more than anything is Bungie's response to it. Burnout is always going to happen in any game. It's different than burnout, though. Here's the thing. I have seen content creators talk about burnout, right? And frankly, I don't completely understand burnout because the way that I interact with a game, specifically Destiny, is markedly different than how normal human beings will interact with Destiny, right? For me, there is a game within the game of coming up with stuff to do. The coming up with stuff to do in and of itself is part of the game, and it is enjoyable, and it keeps the game fresh for us. Like, for example, we did the Floor is Lava challenge. Just coming up with that idea is fun, and it is enjoyable in and of itself. Destiny is sort of like our Minecraft, if that makes sense. It is sort of a sandbox for ideas. It's not a great sandbox for testing and doing weird, funny stuff, but you get the idea. There's a lot of different components that we can mix and match to create our own version of how we want to interact with this game, right? I have experienced times when I'm just like, I don't really feel like playing Destiny 2 right now, and I would consider that closer to along the lines of traditional burnout, right? We will support you no matter what. I appreciate that, Darkshy Warrior. I really do. This is different. This feels like a philosophical disjoint between what I feel like me as a content creator and also by extension as a player is hoping to see from the game and from the direction of the future of the company versus where Bungie seems to be taking it. Stream cut. Hold on. Refresh stream if it cut. Yeah, okay. Happens that way. We just lost 100 people. Yeah, I don't know why it does that. It's very odd that it does that. So, what for me, where I'm having difficulty is, that's another thing. So, as a content creator and as somebody who loves video editing, often you see people hire other people to do video editing, which is fine. I completely understand it, especially nowadays. I love making videos. I just love making videos. It is just fun for me to make videos. It is something I just enjoy doing, right? So creating content, taking it back, syncing music to it, writing a script, editing it, and putting it out there for somebody to see is like the height of my time as a player of this game, as a human being, honestly. It is fantastic. It is fantastic for me. And the fact that has now gone away has moved content creation away and playing Destiny 2 away from being something I love doing and I look forward to doing to something I dread. You might have noticed that there are significantly less videos out of us, and it's because I'm having to drag myself to actually do the stuff. And oftentimes, there's been a handful of videos. Thankfully, it doesn't show in the video itself. Nobody picked up on it, which is great. There's been a handful of videos I have forced myself to finish, even though I did not want to. And thankfully, it hasn't shown up. It's not apparent in the videos. I've done a good enough job of hiding it in the videos to where it's just like, man, do I really, really want to be doing this right now? And like I said, should be clear. I am not completely stepping away from Destiny. There's also something else that's going on, is that at the end of this week, I'm going on a family vacation. I'm going to go visit my dad. I'm not going to be near my system for a while. And this, I think, thinking about this and kind of preparing for this trip has actually done a lot to help me understand my own mentality, to sort of be introspective. Because typically, when I'm going to go do something like this, because this is at least an annual thing for me, I would be stressed out of my mind, but in a good kind of way, like anxious, but in a good kind of way, trying to create content so that over that period when I'm away, that there'll be something on the channel, right? Something there, something prepped so that I can kind of like have something, my foot in the door or whatnot, right? But that's not, I'm not feeling that drive. I'm not feeling it. Perhaps the scariest thing with regards to all of this, so even ignoring everything else, is the feeling that I'm getting from Bungie is that they just kind of don't care. I'm sure that's not the case, probably. But that's the feeling that I'm getting. The feeling that I'm getting, they're like, oh, well, we've got a second team working on a second game, you know? And like, I hate that. I hate negative mentality. I'm a peacemaker at the end of the day. I don't like starting fights. I don't like causing drama or doing anything like that. Right? But that's the feeling that I'm getting, because it's like there is such a community outcry right now for just something, just anything, you know, and we ain't getting squat. So it's rough. It's very rough. I'll try to read some. I'll try to read some comments and stuff now. Agree, it feels like they don't care. They have a way different priorities, and it feels like they're leaving D2 to die on the vine. Yeah, exactly. It feels like they're like, okay, we're working on final shape, and then whatever happens after that, we'll figure it out when we get there, right? The whole, like, never over-delivering thing, honestly, has some merit to it. There legitimately is some merit to, like, don't over-deliver, because it becomes the standard, right? Think of how many people have harkened back to, like, Menagerie or whatnot. Like, that now becomes the new standard. And I get that to a point, right? But I feel like it would be much more conducive for the rest of the community to say, like, hey, look, we really knocked it out of the park this time, and just something special came together, and we were able to deliver more than we anticipated. But just be aware that this is not going to be the norm going forward. I feel like it's a more healthy way of approaching things. Like, it's basically putting out there and saying there's going to be times when we're going to over-deliver, but we're still going. That's not always going to be the case. We're not always going to be able to hit those marks. You know, I feel like that is a much more healthy and a much more positive interaction with the community than the communication that we've been given, which is just like, you're going to get what you're going to get, and you're going to be happy with it. You know what I mean? Why is it goodbye? I don't get it. So basically, more or less, I'm going to be putting out content. We're going to be putting out content here and there. I'm likely going to have a video coming out tomorrow, kind of going over the same stuff, because not everybody watches the streams. But basically now until final shape, we're more or less stepping away, and I'm more prepping right now more than anything, just to let everybody know I might just vanish for a while, or I might just come up on stream and we just might not play Destiny, something like that. Like we're in a situation where we're kind of being forced to adapt and change and do all this other stuff, to adjust to the pitches that were being served, and kind of the pitches that were being served right now is just bunt, you know, just get to first base and call it a day. You know what I mean? Give us a cooking show. I understand the over delivery thing, but they've been under delivering too much, and we need. Yeah, like the thing for me, the biggest problem I have. So look at. Do you guys see in the bottom right hand corner down here, underneath the Destiny logo on the right? Do you see how many hours I have played? This is nowhere near the amount of hours that other content creators have on this game. Right? Like, I feel like I have a pretty healthy relationship with this game, even though I'm a content creator, right? And I'm sure plenty of you even have more hours than me. The way I interact with this game is, I think, good. You know what I mean? Like, it's here and there. It's when I want to. It's somewhat sparse, but when I do engage with it, it's pretty meaningful. And even then, even in that case, which is always funny to me when I get people in the comment section that are like, well, you're a content creator, so of course, and they try to invalidate, you know, like an opinion I have because of how much of the game I play, which is silly, which is ridiculous. Like, that would make sense if we were talking about like a skill gap thing, where it's like, well, you need to make sure that the newer players can understand something or aren't going to get blown out of the water by something, sure, right? That somewhat holds water, even oftentimes because like it makes, for me as a content creator, it makes sense for me to want everybody to be involved, and typically that in my sphere of what I occupy is maybe 10% of the game, that being like the hardcores of the hardcores. You know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there. I feel like I have a pretty healthy interaction with the amount of time I've spent on this game over the 5-6 years, however long this Destiny 2 specifically has been out. And despite all that, like the fact that this is the amount of time I've spent, I'm still feeling this is kind of sucks. And more than that, this is the point I'm trying to get to. I'm a PvP player. And hot damn, is PvP been given the shaft. And there's like the whole, well, Destiny 2 is a PvE game. And I'm like more willing to agree to that now more than ever. I would say that Destiny 2 is at its best when it is both a PvP and a PvE game. When you get a new weapon from the raid and you go, hey, I want to check this out in 6v6. I want to check this out in the Crucible, right? I feel like that's when Destiny's really at its best and you have fun in both. Or you get a gun that drops from PvP and you're like, wow, this would be amazing in PvE. So you take a step off and you go, kill some thrall or whatever, right? Good Lord, have we been given the short end of the stick for a long ass time. And like all the changes we're getting to PvP are sandbox changes, which is like, okay, or they're extremely superficial. Like the comp rework was very subtle. The most significant thing about the comp rework was the fact that we got emblems, emblems that represent where we are in the world, and compared to other players or whatnot. And even then that kind of had like questionable meaning and whatnot, right? And then Gambit players. Oh yeah, don't even start talking about Gambit players. Dude, Gambit could have been so cool. Like I feel like Gambit could have been like amazing as a game mode, right? I feel like they could have doubled down and really figured out how to get that Gambit formula to work, and it would have been really, really fun. I don't know exactly what steps would have been to get it to that point, but the idea of having those kind of tactical overarching decisions about like what to send, when to send it, when to invade, on top of trying to kill things as fast as possible, really make it feel snappy, could have been so cool. Like on paper, I wanted to like Gambit. Unfortunately, it's not that case for me. Like it's just what I experience as current Gambit is just very meh. But yeah, Gambit players, good Lord, Gambit players, I feel bad for you all. Gambit, unironically, is pretty fun. Unbalanced as hell, but pretty fun. But, like, it's okay if things are unbalanced, though. Things don't have to be balanced to be fun. Balance does not equal fun. It is a thing that I think we sometimes, like, bad balance can kill a game, but balance does not necessarily equate to fun, right? Uno drinking game. Yeah, that would be kind of fun. I feel like after Season of the Drifter, Bungie kind of forgot about Gambit. Yeah, and I think here's what it comes down to. Specifically with PvP, specifically with Gambit. It's not profitable. It doesn't earn them money. And I feel like every decision that they have made with regards to the future of PvP has driven Destiny to be a more casual experience, which isn't a bad thing. Destiny is not a competitive game. That's something I've been talking about forever, and it's starting to come up in the community, thankfully. Destiny is not a competitive game. Anything that tries to force it to be more competitive artificially is going to hurt the game, because it's just not what it is. The fact that melee registration is like a problem, and a big problem, for years, for me, is like the cleanest evidence of like Destiny is not a competitive game. You know what I mean? But anyway, so there's been a lot of push towards a more casual experience within Destiny 2 for the casual players, but unfortunately a less enjoyable experience for the competitive players, right? Like the gap between the casual and the competitive player, not in terms of skill difference, but in terms of like how they interact with the game, has widened more significantly. I hope I'm making sense here. I hope I'm making sense. Do you know what I'm saying when I say that the not necessarily the skill gap, but the experience of these two types of players have gotten wider. Like what they experience is wider. A great example of what I'm talking about is skill-based matchmaking. Now, I've talked about with this game that I actually think skill-based matchmaking works, and it's quite good because the game by itself is more competitive. Right? It's just a more competitive game. There is just more things in it that make sense to set this up as a competitive experience. Is Modern Warfare the peak of competitive first-person shooters? Absolutely not. But the way that the game is set up is more carefully designed around that experience than Destiny. Destiny is a wacky space shooter. So anything that arbitrarily drives Destiny to be a more competitive experience artificially, not something that you choose to engage with. So I'm talking like things that are outside of competitive, like actually choosing to queue for competitive and having that be a tight, close competitive game is going to be fun. But Destiny, when played optimally at the highest of levels, can very quickly become unfun because the best strategies there are cheesy. You know what I'm saying? But I know that's not going to necessarily sit better with everybody, but like the thing that's been kind of like thrown at me over and over again is this constant push towards Destiny wanting to try to be slightly more competitive and slightly here and there, but the rest of the game, it's like walking the walk versus talking the talk. By the way, Namelzonk, please don't message me on PlayStation. I keep those open so that I can message people or people can message me after games, but please don't do it while I'm on stream. Use the actual chat. Right? Like, it's contrary to how the game is being played, you know, and it sucks because like the sandbox kind of suffers for it at the same time, you know, rather than kind of allowing a little bit of weirder, crazier, wilder stuff. It just gets kind of stale, and Destiny is fun when it's crazy, when it's all over the place. And the thing is I don't claim to know all the answers either. It's always funny when I see comments that are like multi-paragraphs long claiming to say, this is how this should work and this is how that should work. I don't claim to know how everything is supposed to work. But above all of that, above everything, the big thing that I'm missing from Bungie and Destiny right now is a reason to care. There's a significant deficit. There's a significant debt of good faith from Destiny right now, from Bungie right now. Like, I don't feel like me as a player is something that Bungie wants. It feels more and more like they're going to give me just good enough just to get whatever paycheck I want. And that sucks that I have to talk like that. And that sucks that that's the feeling that I have. It sucks. Because up until very recently, like we've had lows in the past, right? We talk about the Destiny cycle of how it's like, oh, this game sucks. I hate this game. I'm going to go play other games. And then like a new update is announced and then people come back and it's their favorite game and then they hate it again, right? But like the highs have not been as high and the lows feel like they're getting lower. You know what I mean? But at the same time, money's talking. Because Lightfall did really well. And I think that Lightfall did a lot of things that was good. There's a lot of things that Lightfall added that was good. Like the fact, like I talked about this half jokingly in the past, but the fact that we got a grapple hook, I'm like only partially joking here, is a legitimately good reason to pick up Lightfall because it is such a new way to engage with the game. There is so much novelty with that. It's so much fun, right? But unfortunately, that is an island in a sea of other stuff and other issues that's going on with the game. You know what I mean? Let me read some of the chat here. But if you don't play for a week, you have to grind for a month, and it sucks. That is also kind of true. Like the funny conversation with Bungie and Destiny is like the constant discussion around FOMO, right? You know what? Just be honest. Just be honest. You're gonna get FOMO. It's just the nature of a game like this. Don't pretend. Hold on one second. I just dropped my USB that I was fidgeting with. Don't pretend like FOMO's not going to happen or that you're going to somehow magically fix it. It's going to happen, right? Just give players a way who are behind to catch up, right? And just basically embrace it. Just be like, yeah, guys, you're going to miss out on stuff, but it's okay. If you did miss out on stuff, if you haven't played the game for like 6 months or whatever, we're gonna give you, I don't know, an XP boost. You know what I mean? Like I hate that the idea of like FOMO doesn't exist has kind of been a thing for a while. And the thing is Bungie hasn't tried talking about that. I think they kind of know it as well. I just wish they'd to be a little bit more honest about it. FOMO's gonna happen. It's just the nature of the game. Yeah, it's an MMORPG. Things like that are just gonna happen. Just when it does happen, try to soften the blow, you know? Yeah, that's the whole thing. FOMO is both something that makes players distance themselves from the game as well as the main motivating force to keep playing the game. Yeah, right? And like, Bungie, Destiny does a good job of dangling the carrot. And that's a good thing. Like, I'm not saying like dangling the carrot's a bad thing, right? That's a good thing. It's a good thing that there's constantly something to work for, something to chase after. That's cool. Because it constantly makes you feel like you're getting progress towards something, right? And that's really hard because setting up goalposts for players that they continuously want to come back to time and time again is really difficult. Like, outside of a purely PvP based experience where just the high of enjoying a really good game being the extent of what you are getting out of the game, the fact that the PvE experience, which primarily is loot driven, still has something to chase after for endgame is honestly incredibly impressive and should be applauded, right? I was going to mention something else with that. What else was I going to mention with that? Gosh darn it, I lost the thought. I'm on 6 hours of sleep, by the way, and coffee. I'm a little disjointed right now. My brain is not quite there. My brain is not all here right now, so I apologize if I'm kind of all over the place. Yes, there's the thought. So, one of the things I think we're also experiencing right now is we're at this weird crossroads where all of this is happening right now with the community and Marathon and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, one of the things that's only lightly getting touched on right now is that loot no longer matters as an incentive, right? You know what I mean? Like, loot has stopped being as much of a driving force for players to chase after and to engage with the game. Because I think players, not to pat myself on the back, but over a year and a half ago, we've been talking, or I put out a game design video talking about this, that loot can't and shouldn't be the only reason, nor should it be the main reason to ever engage in a game. It can be a good reason. It can be a close second, but what you do should be the main driving force for enjoying a game. And the fact that I can ask a majority of players, if I said, hey, if this activity didn't have loot, would you do it? And they'd go, what? No, of course not. I feel like it's like a bad sign. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like a bad sign that the game isn't intrinsically enjoyable. Like, you have to be given a carrot in order to chase it, right? And it's worked for a while, but I feel like we're at a point now where we've kind of explored so many ideas where the only way to give new and interesting stuff is to offer just straight up power creep. I feel like it's an indication of that idea. You know what I'm saying? What if we don't like carrots? Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like myself, I don't care about the loot. I really don't. For me, if I have something that's sufficient, I'm happy. Which is why, like, for me, whenever I get, like, a minimum rolled exotic armor, I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, other people will grind for hours and hours and hours. And there's definitely a joy in getting your build just right. And that's not what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying that, you can't have, you can't, it's bad for you to go out and try to get, like, the perfect piece of gear or whatever it may be, right? It's that it's a diminishing return, right? And removing that carrot on the end of the stick, or what's, I think, more likely happening is people going, why am I doing this? I don't care. I've got a good, I don't know, void hand cannon that has a damage perk. Why do I need to go after another? Like that, when that gets kind of stripped away and the context of what it is you're doing becomes more front and center, right? Like the motivations of how you're engaging with the game becomes more front and center. I feel like now you're sort of able to take a step back and go, huh, maybe I need to find another reason to enjoy, like, I need to find another reason to enjoy this game, or I actually kind of don't like this activity like I thought I did. I only liked the loot. If I was just handed the loot right off the get-go, I probably would never engage with this thing again. And to Bungie's credit and Destiny's credit, there's a lot of activities in the game. Like, I think raids and dungeons are a fantastic example of something that is just fun to do, right? I would love for raids, dungeons, and most PvE activities to have something to chase after that isn't loot. Something like a personal best, a minimum damage taken, a maximum damage given, a world ranking board for, you know what I mean? Like something that gives more context, more drive to engage in the game, and something that's different. Like one of the coolest things I see every now and then pop up on my Twitter feed, or is it called X now, whatever, is people doing a legendary lost sector in like literally under a minute. That is the coolest shit ever. Unfortunately, those players are only ever going to get a return on that investment, that time that they spent, from posting it somewhere else, from posting at the Twitter. Is that necessarily Bungie's job to engage in the game in that way? No. I mean, it is their game at the end of the day. If they want the game to be only fishing simulator, they have that right. They can do that. It doesn't mean I have to be here for it, right? But they can do that if they want to. You know what I mean? But like, I feel like trying to focus in on making something more intrinsically redeemable by itself outside of the context of loot should have been a bigger focus from the start, and now it's starting to kind of come crashing down. And the fact that the seasonal model has now also kind of like burnt itself out at the same time, it's just there's so many things happening right now in Destiny for a player that it is a dumpster fire bigger than we've seen in the past. And the thing is we often tend to fan the flames. Humans and content creators are 100% guilty of this, just because we're also humans. I know, shocking. Are guilty of making a mountain out of a molehill. Bro, I have been making a text-based Discord game, okay? Text-based Discord game. It's like Pokemon with D&D flavorings. It's got its own story. It's whatever. If you want to check it out, links in the description under Discord. Just go find it there. But I have done some stuff where it's like the mildest nerf to a character or something, or the mildest change to something, and have had players lose their fucking mind. Have had players lost their freaking mind about it, right? Like, somebody killed their mom and I was holding the bloody knife kind of reaction to it, right? Human nature, and particularly capital G gamers, are the worst to deal with, and I'm one of them, right? You know, and like that, we have a tendency to do that. We have a tendency to make something bigger than it actually is, right? But like, even if I'm trying to take a step back and be like as objective about the state of the game right now, wow, there are so many things that are just like crashing in. It's like we're at like an 8-way intersection, which doesn't exist. It's more like a circle. It's like a roundabout, okay? It's like a roundabout, right? And like everybody decided to floor it through the meridian all at the same time, and a helicopter crashed at the same time, right? Like all of these things decide, like if just one car jumped the meridian, it would probably be okay. It would be a little scary, and they might have had some damage on the other side, but everyone would probably be okay. If just two, it would be a tragedy. But again, everything would be mostly fine. We'd be able to clean that up. You know, we'd get some cops out there to make sure everybody is okay, some ambulances, and clear out the wreckage and so on. And that roundabout would be ready to go probably by the end of the day. But we've got like a 16-car pileup. It's probably closer to like 8. You know what I'm saying? All happening at the same time. And even from like an objective standpoint, you know, it's like a whole bunch of stuff happening at the same time. So yes, while there is a lot of like making a mountain out of a molehill happening with this and just like drama for the sake of drama, sure, there's definitely more truth than what it would seem right now. I'm honestly, I'm going to be completely real with you all. I'm amazed and surprised how many people are watching the stream. I think 700 to 780 is the highest we've ever been. And that more encourages me that there are people who care, because it's always kind of something in the back of my mind that's just like, people only really watch for the spicy clips. They don't really care. It's something you just have to kind of try to stop convincing yourself of. It's really hard as a content creator, just as a complete aside, it's really hard as a content creator not to marry your personal self-worth with the success of your channel, right? It's really hard to separate those two ideas. Anyway, I've got some super chats. Let me check them. I missed the Halos we got. Oh, the Halos is in the literal Halos, not the game. We got from Nightfalls. I think higher tier in-game activities need a halo or something, an aesthetic glow up that can't be bought. I agree. I think that something like that is a great idea, which is why the competitive rework, the best thing that was added to the competitive rework was the emblem. And when there was like an issue with the matchmaking or whatever, in my opinion, that should have been all hands on deck, front and center. This needs to be addressed right now. You know what I mean? Because like having somebody who didn't earn it getting that emblem just takes the wind out of everybody's sails who's actually earned it to that point. Anyway, it's a wit plug. Y'all should play wit. It's actually pretty. Oh my goodness, so much scroll. It's actually pretty fun. Just don't get attached to any characters because they could get nerfed immediately. All right, well, I'm talking about that. Do you think D2 getting a little harder made the game hard to play with other builds? Do you think players are to blame for PvP meta being unfun? I mean, there's always going to be a give and take. It's never going to be just a cut and dry this or, ooh, my screen's getting dark here. It's never going to be a complete cut and dry. This is the problem. This group of people caused this problem. And I do think that the game being more difficult is a good thing. However, the way that the game got harder is not in the way that we would have hoped. They're not in the way that I feel like is best for the health of the game long term. Destiny got harder in the ways that made the game unattractive to people to begin with. So, as a counterexample to start ourselves off with, Tormentors are really freaking cool. They are a unique enemy that have unique ways to deal with it that require you to engage your brain and come up with strategies and plans and builds and tactics and stuff to take down that enemy, that threatening enemy, uniquely and enjoyably, in my opinion, right? Artificially upping the health of everything and making everything deal more damage does not make the game more challenging in a way that is engaging. It makes the game more challenging in a way that is tedious. That has always been my issue with Destiny 2 PvE, which has always been why I have avoided it as much as humanly possible. Why probably 2,000 hours of this 2,300 hours you see here is probably on PvP. Is just because that type of difficulty freaking sucks. It freaking sucks. And unfortunately, something like the champion system should have been pretty cool. It should have been something that was added to the game that had the same idea as the Tormentors, is you had to have a unique way of dealing with it. Unfortunately, the way that it was delivered became a lock and key system, which just basically said, this is the way you must play the game. You must play the game in this way using these weapons. It just sucks. Don't tell me what to do, right? If I want to take out some wacky little thing to try to kill it in this particular way, go for it. I think that the addition of things like the verbs, the subclass verbs as being a way of dealing with champions has helped tremendously. I still think that they're overtuned, and I still think that there's issues. As an example, I was doing a Legendary Lost Sector for a Titan, and there was an enemy who was an Overload enemy who I was like ever so slightly underlighted, right? So it's like I understood that this was going to be more difficult going in. There was an Overload enemy towards the end of this thing. Now, the problem with this Overload enemy is that this enemy in the normal version of this strike has a health gate that will trigger when enemies will spawn. And because all of the enemies are slightly harder, it was very difficult for me to deal with. So stunning this enemy required me to set up all this crap to full commit to this thing. I would full commit and start to engage. His health would hit a certain point, and then I would be more or less forced to either sacrifice myself to kill the Overload, as it summoned in more enemies because of its health gate, or I would have to disengage and try to deal with the enemies. Like, that sucks because it became this long, drawn-out, tedious process of having to engage with this freaking Overload champion rather than just, like, throwing a super at it and calling it good. You know what I mean? Just, like, having some kind of, like, guaranteed solution to that thing that it was expensive, but it was like, if I could work up to that point, or if I could plan out and have something ready to go, like, my super would not even come close. It wouldn't even come close to killing the damn thing. And that freaking sucks. It really freaking sucks. Anyway, I missed a few super chats. Let me see if I can find those. Do you think D2 being... Okay, so we talked about that one. I will still be playing Destiny 2, though on rotation with other games. Might I suggest Deathloop? I have Deathloop, actually. Deathloop is fantastic. I think it's come to Xbox as well. I don't have it installed right now. Where's Deathloop? Deathloop. I also got Alan Wake. Deathloop. Deathloop was fantastic. I really enjoyed Deathloop. It was a lot of fun. And they engaged with the PlayStation controller in a way that was completely unique. It was really, really cool. If you have a chance, if it's like your free game of the month or something like that, definitely pick it up. Good game. Alright, anyway, let's roll on. I saw another one here. Remnant 2 is actually amazing. I hope you like it when you play it, and maybe videos on your experience. I do plan on getting Remnant. I do plan on getting Remnant 2, and I appreciate that suggestion. It will be something I'm going to wait a little bit on, because I want to see how kind of it shakes out. You know what I mean? I want to see how the game kind of like settles with the players and such. But I do plan on getting it. I've already got enough friends who have picked it up, where I'm probably going to pick it up anyway. Even if I hate it, it's going to be like, you know, cool, whatever. It's like a tax write-off, I guess, because I'll play it on stream once and call it a day. Rain World, I also miss when Bungie embraced chaos. Rain World is definitely a unique game. And like, that's kind of the hard thing right now, right? That's a hard thing for me as a content creator, is that I've sort of pigeonholed myself into being a Destiny content creator. And I don't plan on leaving Destiny anytime soon, at least not until the end of Final Shape. Now, the thing is that I was expecting that Final Shape and a little past that, we would be discussing going into variety, going into, like, my plan was probably to do, like, first-person shooter games in general. Like, maybe one night doing Remnant, maybe the next night doing a Call of Duty thing, whatever. Right? Or maybe doing just kind of like more generic, like overarching spicy clips for just first-person shooters in general. Something like that, right? The fact that the conversation is coming up this early is kind of scary. It's quicker than I anticipated. Now, the thing that's encouraging is that there's a lot of you who are currently here right now, which means that a lot of people will care enough to listen to me rant at a microphone while staring at a more or less blank screen. Means that the thing I had convinced myself of, which was that people only are watching for the content, not necessarily for the channel, is less true, which is good. It's a good feeling. Anyway, I saw another super chat. Where was it? Champions were foreshadowed. People just now chasing Malfeasians will meet the corrupted boss. Oh, so much scrolling. That is unstoppable overload and can't be interrupted. Yeah, like I said, like I don't think champions as a concept are a bad thing. It's just that the way that they were delivered was sort of half-baked, unfortunately, and overtuned. I would much rather have had the champions be something that was easier to deal with, but still required a little extra thought. And even if they were, like, more common, like, imagine I know it's hard to picture nowadays because they're so freaking annoying to deal with, but imagine a room where half of the enemies, let's say, are barrier champions, right? But the barrier champions were, like, much easier to deal with. So that it required you to kind of, like, go back and forth between dealing with, like, normal ads and kind of dealing with the barrier champion. But the barrier champion didn't require, you know, all of this setup and energy and planning and all this other stuff. It was just more like, okay, what tools can I set up with the thrall that I have here to get ready for the barrier champion? You know what I mean? Like, kind of like planning it around and making you kind of like again, how the Tormentors work. The Tormentors are a great example of kind of what I'm talking about, to where you're dealing with the other enemies in the room just to kind of stay alive and whatnot, just to kind of keep bullets from hitting you as often. But there's the constant looming threat of, like, there's the Tormentor I have to deal with. There are ways to deal with the Tormentor to kind of stun them and slow them down and do all this other stuff, right? But it's something I'm kind of having to keep in the context of my mind. You know what I'm saying? The Tormentors and Lucian Hive are a step in the right direction. Yeah, and in my opinion, we should have been stepping in that direction a long time ago. A very long time ago. A very, very long time ago. Even the freaking Taken are a pretty good example of this. Like the Taken Scions that continuously resummon themselves. You know what I mean? Like that's an individual unique enemy that's not necessarily hard to deal with by itself, right? But like placed in the context of other things, it adds depth to the game in a way that is more enjoyable. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I gotta kill all of them right now. I gotta make sure I hit them with an AoE. And you have lots of AoE. So cool, no problems. Champion stuns being server side was a mistake. Should have been client side for the stuns. I've had too many champion unstun themselves. Yeah, and that's like, again, there's so many, like, again, I don't want to make this whole conversation about champions, but it is kind of like a point to represent the whole, right? But like, it's so damn annoying that the champions have a period where you just can't deal with them. You know what I mean? Like there's just periods of time where the champion you just can't stop the champion. Like being able to continuously stun lock a champion, I feel like should just be a feature, or at least how they are right now. You know, just sit them down, shut them up. As another aside, like this, like an artificial difficulty thing, I hate the trend we have of invincible boss while you're doing a mechanic. It's not necessarily a bad thing in all cases. It can be sort of like a room hazard. But when this boss is just like an insta-kill thing, and you still have a lot of enemies that are somewhat difficult to deal with, and you're having to juggle mechanics, it just feels like, let's just make this harder for no reason. And again, that's kind of a hot take, but anyway. As a Nightfall enjoyer, I despise champions. I don't want this whole conversation to be about champions, but I just wanted to bring it up as a side point. Weird question. What did you take on the difficulty of raids, namely Ron versus Grandmaster? So here's another thing. Because I dislike Destiny 2 PvE, I try not to make, like, it's easy to accidentally or intentionally pass off your opinion as a content creator as law, right? Like to say, like, this is how everybody thinks. But there is some truth to that at the same time, because me as a content creator, I have to be more aware of what's called the zeitgeist, the kind of the spirit of the age for the people. Right? I have to kind of be aware of what people are thinking, what people are reacting to, and so on and so forth, right? But despite all that, I am not the most educated when it comes to PvE stuff. I will always defer to somebody else, personally. I think that Ron was disappointingly a little too easy, but it's okay, because it's okay if we have... It's like the difference in different PvP maps, right? You're going to have your anomalies, you're going to have your banner falls, where you've got some that are just more focused on this thing, and some that are just more focused on that thing, right? Grandmasters have been something I don't often engage with, because for the exact same reasons of, that's just not the type of difficulty I enjoy. So, you guys have seen me every once in a while play this game. This is an exclusively PvE game, right? I love this game. Because the way that it does difficulty requires you to get better at the individual skills that this game requires, not to have more patience and to sit there and chip away at a larger health pool, right? Where this game gets more difficult is it literally requires you to dodge more stuff and to balance more things, right? To keep more stuff in your mind, have better reaction time, and do all this other stuff, right? I love this game, and it is, like I said, exclusively PvE. It is vastly different than Destiny, right? But like that as an idea would have been better. Like I think Destiny would have been like higher difficulties would be better if the modifiers were the only real thing that changed. And the thing is that those modifiers should probably be more intense, in my opinion. Again, take this with a massive grain of salt, because I'm not a PvE person. I haven't spent that much time thinking about this as much. But for me, it would have been more enjoyable to have the modifiers be more intense, not make the health pools bigger, or to have the enemies deal more damage. Like, imagine some type of modifier where explosive enemies don't blow up other explosive enemies. Something like that. Where now explosive enemies in a group, whereas before it's like, oh, that's a bunch of free kills. Now it's like, shite. I'm going to have to deal with a bunch of those guys. I'm going to have to just take care of that problem real quick. You know what I mean? As someone who's only plays PvE, that's an excellent idea. Well, I appreciate that. So, yeah. I don't want this whole stream to be, like, oh, woe is me or whatever. But let's bring this back to center, and then I can kind of talk to individual ideas and stuff that's popping up in chat. So to reiterate everything off the top, I'm going to be taking a step away from the game for a while. I probably will be putting out a video tomorrow. I honestly just might let this stream, I might just call this stream here early and just put this up as Wednesday's video. I don't know. I have to keep the YouTube beast fed because I need to be able to feed myself. So I have to keep putting up content. So it's very scary right now. It is very scary right now to be making this decision, but I'm kind of being forced to, more or less. Like, if you, one of the things I have to do, or one of the things I do as a content creator, is that I have on my phone, I have a huge private tab section of all the bigger-ish content creators, even the smaller ones too. And I just kind of keep an eye on how people are doing, how many views a video particularly got, what people are interested in, right? Because it's like, that's just good business, right? And looking at other people's content and watching across the board, the numbers get chopped like into a third, with a few exceptions, is so disheartening. And on top of that, seeing so many people just say, screw it, and they just go to variety stuff, which is good for them, like freaking good on them, right? But it sucks that they're being, that everyone's feeling like they kind of have to now. You know what I'm saying? I never catch you live, so here's this to go towards another game, or food or something. I appreciate that. We're okay right now. Thankfully, you guys have been with us. We've been doing this for enough time, and we've been able to support ourselves to a point where we have sort of like a safety net to fall back on for a little bit. I did have to make some relatively big financial decisions, and like, it's kind of sucks, but like, this is just more personal stuff. I had to buy a new car. And that's just pricey. That's just expensive. And it's during a time when the price of the car, it's a used, beat-up little car. The price of the car exceeded what I'm going to earn this month, right? Thankfully, I've been supported by you guys enough that I'm not worried about it, right? That you guys have been able to, just like watching videos or whatever, has been able to make it to where like I can go into the red this month, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean it's not scary, especially because it's like, is this the trend going forward? Is this what's going to happen going forward? Am I going to have to start working at McDonald's? Like all of these things kind of come into your mind because like content creation is like, especially when you're just starting out, is a constant fear of like, what if people just wake up one day and just decide they don't want to watch my videos? I'm just screwed. You don't have any job security here, really. Like, because it could just be it one day, or the game could just die, especially when you're a one game channel like we are. Here's some McDonald's money. I appreciate that. If you really need it, man, you don't need to play Destiny exclusively. Plus, you can make Spicy Clips videos. Yeah, like, that's the thing, right? Like, actually talking about that, we thankfully are at a place where if we did have to pull the trigger on going full variety, which we aren't planning on doing anytime soon, not at least until Final Shape, we get to see how that ends up working. We are at a place right now where a lot of our content is adaptable to just about damn near anything, right? We could take Spicy Clips to almost literally any other type of game and we'd be fine, right? The problem with it is the marketing, because I have to market the actual video, the thumbnail, the title, in such a way that YouTube goes, oh, this is a video people want to watch. And because if like you see a video, let's say for Call of Duty, right, and you don't click on it, compound that over 1,000 people, YouTube goes, oh, people don't want to watch this video. This is not a video people are interested in. We'll just stop showing this video. Right? It's a constant fight. It's a constant game. And it's a good thing because that means you get better content, right? But it does kind of make it scary for me, especially if we want to do a hard pivot, because that means that there's guaranteed to be a period where we're just in the red. We're just going to be in the red. Misim, can we still play D2 together? Like I said, I do plan on still being around for Destiny 2, at least until Final Shape. But at least from now until August 22nd, I believe, is the end of the season. I don't know what's going to happen, but just expect less. And this might just be the last time that we end up interacting in a more serious way. I probably will still do streams because I just enjoy doing streams. But I don't know what's going to be going on for videos. We'll probably still do Spicy Clips. I've had to that's another thing. I've had to turn down a lot of sponsors. Right? And that's relatively good money just because, like, man, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Even though I would be getting paid, I just don't want to. You know, it's just like my heart's not in it. Why would I want to just like put on the fake smile and just go for it? You know what I mean? Wishing you the best in this move away from D2. You're a huge inspiration for me. Like, again, I just want to be clear. I know this is probably not what you're saying. I just want to be clear. This is a break. This is not a shift in content yet. Yet. This is not a complete total shift in content. This is a break. It's more forceful than anything because not only is everything kind of crashing and burning in the Destiny community right now, but I'm literally not going to be in my office able to make videos for about a week. Right? So it's a break. It's not a complete shift into variety yet. I am obviously having to size up that beast and see, like, is this something I can tackle because of how everything's kind of shaking out right now. But not yet. You know what I'm saying? And it's a break because I want to make sure that this is clear. I want to make sure this is clear because I do agree that breaks are healthy, but like it's a break in the worst way possible. You know what I mean? I've gotten burnout on the game before. You know, like burnout for me is not a deterrent from enjoying a game, I should be more specific. Burnout in Destiny 2 does not deter me from making content. Right? Burnout in Destiny 2 is just a thing. It's just something I have to get over. I've been burnt out in the game in the past. It's no big deal because, like I said, the content, the making and having people enjoy the game is where I find my enjoyment in the content creation space. Where I'm having difficulty is that my philosophy when I signed up for Destiny is now going away from where I was hoping it would be. And the sentiment with everything going on in the game. And like all of these things are coming crashing down at once where it is not burnout. It is like, I just don't care. I just don't care. Burnout is I'm not having fun at the core of the game, the way that the game is being normally enjoyed. But that doesn't stop me from doing weird and funny, wacky stuff to enjoy the game in a different way. Right? So just to make sure that that's clear. And that's honestly more scary than just raw burnout. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Absolutely love your determination. Breaker, no breaker content's fantastic. I appreciate that. I really do. TDT mukbang. Probably not. Probably not. Although I have had this idea for a while. Probably won't end up acting on it. But I'd love to do like airsoft one day and just be like, hey guys, here's a GoPro. We're going to go play Destiny IRL. I guess it's probably close to like Call of Duty or whatever, right? But I used to play a lot of airsoft. In fact, fun story for you. I had to cut it out of the spicy clips because it was too long. When I was but a wee lad, I was like 16 years old or whatever, we went to a friend's birthday for paintball. And we were apparently there with some like sponsored players or whatever. We just kind of happened to get into the game and it showed. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like the Trials of Osiris sweats versus the casual who just picked up the game, right? And we started playing, and the story went like this. At this time when I was younger, was still like heavily into the Call of Duty scene, and I love the tactics. That's where you got the Wolfpack stuff from. It's like I still love the tactics, right, and doing all that stuff. And I saw that there was a group of players who were moving like a unit. They were moving like they were SEAL Team 6 or whatever, right? I'm like, I want to be a part of that, right? So me being the little, well, I wasn't little. I was actually pretty tall. But me being the kid that I was, kind of approached these dudes and like, hey, can I be a part of the squad? And they're like, sure. More or less kind of like just wanting just to kind of like pat me on the head and then just let me go get killed somewhere, get shot somewhere, right? But I ended up getting a flag capture on the enemy team, like a full-fledged, we worked beautifully and cut through the enemy's backline. I dropped my freaking USB again, cut through the enemy's backline, reached the enemy's flag, I capped it, and full sprinted my ass back for a full team cap, right? And after, one of the dudes that was out there, like an older gentleman, maybe in his 40s, approached me, he's like, hey, how would you like to be sponsored and like go around the world and play paintball? I'm like, what? I plan on going to college. So I always thought it would be kind of fun to do something like that because I always felt like that would have been something enjoyable. But that's neither here nor there. It'd be really cool to have Halo Infinite custom game content from you, and especially if it brings the community. I can only imagine the cool content that you and your community can make in the videos. Yeah, I've thought about that. Like, again, there's a lot of stuff that I could branch out to. The scary thing is that it's really hard to get into another game because you don't know as much as you know about Destiny. Like, I'm very confident in my knowledge about Destiny. I'm a damn encyclopedia. Outside of lore, which is, doesn't interact with gameplay in the same way, and there's other people who can, who are more expert in that. Like, I'm a pretty much an encyclopedia for the most part about weird niche facts and knowledge about this game, and confident about being able to make decisions about the meta in a way that isn't focusing on one thing or another. Doesn't mean I'm right all the time, but like, I'm pretty confident. And jumping into other games, I don't understand where the community's voice is at. So jumping into something like Halo, outside of just the fun of the thing, which is fine, is scary, right? Because it's like, I don't know if what I'm going to say here, if I'm going to like bring up an idea, because it could be something as simple as like, hey guys, we're going to make, I'm saying this with a bit of tongue in cheek. We're going to make Destiny 2 and Halo. We're going to make a Destiny map in Halo's Forge and play it. And without knowing anything at all, go full-fledged and spend all this time to have somebody say, somebody's already done that. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. You know what I mean? Anyway, player apathy. Yes, one of the pillars Bungie said is a time that the developer needs to worry about. Seems like the community is feeling it. Yeah, no, we definitely are. 100%. 100%. Again, thank you for everybody who's supporting on this stream. I do appreciate that. Anyway, let me try to catch up with chat. Eggnog is saying somebody to stop spamming chat. If you're being told by one of my TDT members to stop spamming chat, you really need to stop spamming chat. Anyway, TDT, do you have a cat? Yes, I have two. I have Temmie, I have Trico. It's just why you might see a Temmie bump my little PNG dude's leg every now and then, because I do have a Temmie. She's not with me right now, but I do have a cat. She's adorable. She's like this little love bug. She's like ever so slightly chunky, but ever like extremely fluffy. Brian O'Donnell, you really want to make me do this, bro? Come on. Can't we just be an adult about this? Hold on, everybody. I gotta go ban freaking Brianna O'Donnell. I would prefer if people were just adults about things. I don't like banning people. Not because it's like I dislike doing it, just because I feel like everybody could be adults. You know what I mean? You put the user in timeout. Let's hide the user on this channel. That works. It's like banning them, right? Yeah, I don't. It's annoying to have to ban people because I feel like even like I don't ban people. I probably will never ban somebody for like hating on me. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's like that's just you existing as a human being are gonna piss people off. That's just how it's gonna be, right? But like people who are just being children, annoying, whatever, has been skill issued, honestly. Anyway. Just remember the good old days of Laser Tag Weekend. I was actually not around for Laser Tag Weekend. So I've stepped away from the game in the past. Like, I think that's probably the big thing. Like, that's actually a really good point to bring up. Before I was a content creator, before I was even, it was even a thought to be a content creator, Destiny 2 Vanilla, Destiny 2 Beta, right? I stopped playing because of a very similar vibe that I'm getting right now, which is that this game is going in a direction that I completely disagree with. It's just not a game I want to play, right? Destiny 2 was way different than Destiny 1, and I hated it. Like, I tried to convince myself. That's the thing. Like, I tried to convince myself that I liked Destiny 2, right? Like, I was so anchored in that mindset. I was so anchored into the thought of like, I'm going to enjoy this game. I love Destiny 1. I'm going to love Destiny 2. And like, I had to come to the crushing reality that I just did not, right? And I took like a year break. I just didn't touch it. I don't even know what I did in between. I don't know what other games I was playing, right? Because Destiny has become such like a mainstay of like my entertainment. right? I don't even remember, but I came back after laser tag right shortly after Forsaken. I even remember having a conversation with people in my clan and being like, hey guys, is Destiny good again? They're like, oh yeah, it's actually somewhat decent. And I jumped back in and like, I had my doubles. I had my special weapon back. I was faster. You know what I mean? Like the Forsaken level of change that had to come was what brought me back, and in a big way, right? And I think the thing that's the most scary is like, I think we're hitting that point again, but now it's different. Now the success of Destiny is my food on the table, you know, and I'm approaching this. It feels like I'm approaching that same level of like, man, I'm just gonna quit. I'm just gonna quit. Like, put it this way, if I wasn't a content creator, I would 100% would have quit. Probably about like right after Lightfall. I probably would have finished the Lightfall campaign and that would have been it, right? But because I'm invested in it and I am enjoying the game in a different way, that didn't happen. Let me get some water here. I've been chatting for a while. Good water. Does your Trico look like the Pokemon? No. Trico looks like... There goes my damn USB again. Trico looks like the Last Guardian. Me some raid stream win? Probably not. Probably not. Can I get a face reveal before we go? Okay, so again, just to be clear, I'm not leaving the game indefinitely. I'm probably leaving until the next season. And even then, I might not be around that much. It's just a break for now until the next season. And that might not seem like much. It's like, oh, it's only like 2 weeks or whatever, right? But like 2 weeks of putting very little content on the channel is almost suicide. That's the scary thing, is it's like, it's basically signing a suicide pact for YouTube. So it's like, it's really scary for me. It's terrifying, and I have no way of explaining it to you other than you're just going to have to take my word for it. Now, if Final Shape comes out and it sucks, we're going to do something else. We're going to be doing variety content, probably Remnant, because it looks like people are really hyped and interested in it, right? Starfield, stuff like that. So just to be clear. And also, yeah, I have the face that you're seeing on screen in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. That is my face. I don't know why people keep asking for face reveals. That's my face. The thing I'm surprised about is console streamers in general hardly ever get as big as you have. It seems just harder than PC. I don't know about that. Like, I think it's more just like having the resources. Like, people who are PC already have like a good PC to edit with and do all the other stuff might be the correlation. But I don't think it's like a direct one-to-one relationship. Like, isn't Cool Guy a console gamer? You know, I think that's the case. But yeah, anyway. Console seems like the more popular input from what I've seen. I think there's more of us, yeah, because there's 2 platforms on top of the people who are also maybe using a controller. I don't know. I think Destiny is best played on a controller. I think it just feels the best on a controller. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. It doesn't discredit if you enjoy PC. I'm just saying, like, having done both and have played both, like PC games with mouse and keyboard and controller games. I don't know. Like, Destiny feels like it was designed for a controller. That's neither here nor there. Cool Guy and True Vanguard are, yeah. Anyway, we might wrap it up here. I know what I was considering doing today, because I've actually been playing a lot of it. So I know nobody's going to be interested in this. I know this is like way out in left field. Guys, can I be honest with you? I'm not a Destiny player. I'm a gamer, okay? Bald eagle screech and explosions in the background. I play games. I love games. And the original dream before becoming a content creator, which is a very close second, I'm happy to be here, was to be a game designer. And that's why we have the Discord Wit game. Is like, I love making and designing games. I love it so much. But with all that, I play a lot of other games. Or rather, I would love to play a lot of other games. You know the game I've been playing the most of, besides Wit on our Discord, that I've been playing the most of recently? freaking Hearthstone, a card game. It's so vastly different than Destiny, and I have been enjoying the hell out of it. Even right now, I'm thinking, oh yeah, and Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, lots of Tears of the Kingdom too. Start close to wrapping it up and close to 100%ing that game. I've been playing it for like 2 hours every other night. So anyway, but yeah, lots of Tears of the Kingdom too. But like, yeah, like I love games, not just Destiny. Although Destiny has a lot of stuff that I love. Like that's why we landed in Destiny versus like Call of Duty, despite me growing up with Call of Duty. Is like build crafting and the fantasy and the power fantasy and all the elements that I love out of a game are here in Destiny. There's a reason why there's been no Destiny killer, because no one has done what Destiny has done. And probably nobody will. But we're getting things that are close competitions, right? Like Diablo is now kind of looking like it might be that. Remnant's looking really good, right? Anyway, I'm a capital G gamer. I love games. I love just playing games. Indie games are some of my favorites because there's, for me, it's like an art, you know? Getting the designer's ideas and intentions and trying to get the person to express an emotion, trying to get them to feel something is like an art to me. And I love it. I eat that crap up. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I would love to go play other games. However, historically speaking, that has been dangerous and hard to pull off. How many people, legitimate show of hands, would watch me play Hearthstone? I'm willing to bet, if we're lucky, if I'm being generous, a fifth of you. Out of the 500 people here, 100 of you. If we're lucky. Probably closer to 75 or 50. Yeah, see? Nope. I see some nopes. We don't have arms. True. Like, I'm more interested in the people saying no. Like, I see a lot of the people saying yes, and that's great, but there's a distinct lack of no's. There's 500 of you. I tried Hearthstone for me. That's not going to be for everybody. Definitely not. Sorry, man, but no. See, and you don't need to apologize for that. You don't need to apologize for that. That's fine. I'm just saying, it's like, that's just how it's going to be. Right? It's just such a vastly different game. I have a question. Are we in the same state as, wait, what? Are we in the same state as Curse, as in Curse of Osiris? Okay. Or is it worse in your opinion? I'll watch you because the community, not the game. So like I said, I bounced around Curse of Osiris, but I bounced before the Curse of Osiris just because double primary and everything just kind of sucked. And I already saw the writing on the wall way in advance, and I bailed out. Right? To be honest, I was hoping Lightfall would be a big change, and there was some big changes and such, but it wasn't enough. It's like we just got a new dot on the graph. We didn't actually start moving in a tremendously positive direction. So in my opinion, in my experience, it's worse, but I don't have any experience with Curse, so it's different for me. Anywho. Let's see. I honestly, actually, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do, because I actually legitimately want to get some numbers on this. I'm actually going to put out a poll, just out of pure curiosity. Out of absolute pure curiosity. Because I'm not going to be able to read all the chat. Give me just a second here, chat. Here. I'm going to put out a poll. And again, I'm not saying I'm going to be playing Hearthstone or whatever, but just because it's such a vastly different game, I'm just curious. Engage with your audience. Start a poll. Would you watch me play Hearthstone? Card game. Only stream. Only vid. No. I'm legitimately curious. Just to get a bead on everybody. Okay. I'll let that do its thing. Anyway. I can't even see the question. It's coming up right now. It should be live right now. Let me read through some of the chat here. Would you consider making content for League of Legends MMO when it comes out in a while? A lot of content creators trying to branch out. A lot of content creators trying to branch out their choice. Waiting to go there. Going to be a bloodbath. I mean, maybe. I kind of like the lore behind League and stuff, but I'm not like the biggest into like the MOBA space. I know it's not going to be a MOBA. Honestly, MMOs in general aren't really a thing I engage with. I like the more complete packages, the smaller games. Destiny's an exception for me, right? Because normally I don't engage in games like that. Normally I don't engage in like big, massive MMOs that require hours upon hours upon hours. You know a game that's been on my mind for a long-ass time? Inscription. Now, I've played through an Inscription. It was fantastic, but for whatever reason, it's just been on my mind lately. I love that game. And other smaller, like, complete packages like that. But again, that's not something I can keep making content on. You know what I mean? Such a good game. What about Binding of Isaac? I actually did play some Binding of Isaac. I was disappointingly unengaged. I found just Enter the Gungeon to be just more engaging. I found Binding of Isaac too easy. And I know there's ways to make the game more hard, but I don't know. I don't know. I had short infatuation with Rain World too. Yeah, Rain World's cool. I haven't played Rain World, but I've seen some stuff on it. It looks cool. Every time I take a break from... Oop. I missed it. Hold on. It's so hard to keep up with all this. There we go. Every time I take a break from Destiny, I go play Warframe. Then I realize how incredibly confusing that game is. Yeah, Warframe is exclusively PvE. And again, in that MMO space, so it's kind of like not really my cup of tea, personally. Alright, let's end the poll. How'd we do? Okay. You know, that's better than I anticipated. That's better than I anticipated. So that's more than half would watch in some capacity, whether that be the vid or the stream. It's interesting that more people are interested in just the video and not the stream as well, because I think Hearthstone is more engaging as a stream content, but maybe some of you just don't know what it is. Like, don't know how it engages with the person playing it, right? That's interesting. So, close to the numbers I was expecting, but surprising nonetheless, so that's encouraging. Anyway, I'd peace out if we're doing Hearthstone. Well, not exclusively Hearthstone, but just like, you know, for like a video or something like that. You know what I mean, right? Just like a one-time thing. Anyhow, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Again, just to reiterate to everybody, just so there's no misinformation out there or whatever it may be, I am not permanently stepping away from the game. I am more or less forcefully taking a break, but it's also coming at a time when like I kind of just need a break. It is not because of burnout. It's just because the philosophy of Bungie and the current state of the game is heading in a trajectory that I do not agree with, and I hope changes drastically in the very near future. Here is my hope. Okay? Here is the thing I am hoping is the case, almost as if a child believes in Santa Claus, if that makes sense. I am hoping that Lightfall is going to be the Forsaken of Destiny 2, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. I'm hoping that, not Lightfall, sorry, Final Shape. Final Shape, when Final Shape drops, it is going to so vastly change everything, where we're going to see sweeping changes across the board, that it's going to be like, and everybody clapped, that kind of thing. Like, legitimately, like, finally freaking yes, this is what we were hoping to see. You know? That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. But, if I'm being realistic, and I tend to err on the side of pessimism, as just a person, I'm a glass half empty kind of guy, I don't think that's going to be the case. My feeling on it is that we are, like, Bungie's kind of like, we're just kind of done with Destiny. We're going to give you guys Final Shape because we've already had it planned out way in advance, so of course we're going to finish out with it. But we're moving on to Marathon. That's the feeling Does not mean that that's reality, but that's how I feel. Right? I will be uploading content far less frequently, far less often. I will still be uploading because I have to. I have to upload. Like the dude who said, I'll see you next week with a little tongue-in-cheek sort of thing. Like, you're not wrong. I have to. I kind of have to. If I want to eat, I have to upload. That's just how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not wrong. But I'm just saying, like, expect less from us. And more than ever, we are debating pivoting over to variety content. It just really depends. We're going to have to see how Final Shape shakes out. It just might be sooner rather than we expect. But it's not gone forever. It is like, I have to because of the vacation and everything else. I'm just letting you all know that if you see less from me, I'm not dead. And I really appreciate if you guys would, like, legitimately, I don't ask for this often, ring the bell. Because I don't know how often I'm going to upload. Like, keep a separate tab open and check on us every now and then. Because I'm scared that if we lose the momentum that we have here, like if we stop uploading the regular, which we already have, we stop uploading the regular 3 times a week, that we're going to have to crash and quit YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the fear right now. So, we'll see. If you want to support us further, check the Patreon. Not at all required. I appreciate it, though. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here for right now, guys. I am on, like I said, I'm on 6 hours of sleep. This has been bugging me for a while. Could not sleep well last night. I'm currently hyped up on coffee. So I'm going to go crash. Let me switch over to this. Anyway. Legitimately, thank you for the amount of people that showed up for today's stream. It is legitimately encouraging that there is this many people who care about us. I did not expect there to be this many viewers today. So thank you so much. But in the meantime, bless your faces and deuces.